welcome. My name is Candice. I'm here with Happy Catastrophe, and I'm here today to show you my completed pages for January 2024. I'm so excited. I'm here in my cozy winter evening relaxing clothes, and I hope you are too. I hope you're nice and cozy and relaxed. Let's look and see what I did in January. So in January, I did 12 pages, which is really good. 5 of those were untouched books, so I'm still on a great roll towards getting all my books touched. And I had 1 new to me artist. 3 of the 12 that I did were color by numbers, and 1 was a PDF. And for the first time ever, 1 was colored on my Procreate app on my iPad. So let's see what I did. All right, so the first one I'd like to show you is actually the PDF. And this is by Hollow Moon Art. And that's Nellie Shoemaker, who made it to the top of my list as my favorite new to me artist for 2024. Excuse me, 2023. We're in 2024 right now. So for 2023, this artist really did it for me. Her stuff is spooky and interesting and gorgeous. So I printed this out on Nina Solar White. It used to be called, it's called Bright White, I think now. Bright white paper. I did do it all in alcohol markers. Every bit of it, except for the background. So all of this is alcohol markers. And then the background, which you're seeing there, kind of shimmery, is eyeshadow. And I believe that's Kat Von D eyeshadow or MAC, one of the two. I can't remember which one I used on this one. So it's a little bit shimmery. I put it on with a blender brush or, actual former makeup brush. And probably not this big, but I put it on and I blend it in and I blend it in. And I do it last because it's not, it's going to get everywhere if you don't. And then these are Posca, white Posca. I believe these dots were already colored in. Reminds me of snow a bit. And then after I'm all done, I fix it so that this eyeshadow is on there and won't come off, even though it still feels really soft. But I love the look of eyeshadow. It adds a nice shimmer. It is just, mica and glitter. And so that's pretty much what much of our powdered pigments are made out of. So it works great if you take old eyeshadow, and this is a blend of a couple of colors. There's a kind of a matte blue and then sort of a shimmery green on top of it. Yeah. And then for her, I really wanted to make her look otherworldly, so everything was very intentional. Her yellowish skin, the red, coloration or tattooing on her face. I just wanted her to look like a woodland spirit, like some sort of otherworldly creature. And I really, really enjoyed this. It came together exactly how I saw it in my head. So yeah, this is from Nellie Shoemaker, or on Etsy, she's Hollow Moon Art. And she's on Instagram as well. And she has a book, a PDF book you can purchase called Mystical Magical Coloring Book. And this was my first coloring out of that book, so this was an untouched book. I did purchase the entire book. I have another one printed out that I'm coloring for January. I just love this artist, and she's just so easy and so fun to color. So yeah, all right, let me show you what I did next. Okay, I'd like to show you a new book that I purchased this month. In January. This is Underwater Worlds by Renata Krasik, and she also does I have it too. The other book she does. I have that book too. I can't remember the name of it right now. I will put it across the screen right here. That book I have not gotten into yet. It's it's a little bit more complicated for me, and I'm having a hard time just coming up with ideas. This book, however, is underwater scenes. It seems a little bit more cohesive, and the lines, where the other ones sometimes lines kind of go nowhere, these ones, the lines are all connected. So I find that the pictures are easier to pick out what's happening, and plus it's underwater. I absolutely love this. So I ended up doing this one of all pages. I know, it's like, I don't like repetitive wallpaper type pages, but this is kind of that. What happened here was I was at the beginning of sort of brain fog / anxiety. I just had something coming on, and I really couldn't think to put together anything big. And I had just gotten this book, and I was flipping through it, looking at all the beautiful pages, and I got to this one, and it just immediately drew me in because I knew it would just be mindless. I already knew what I wanted that water background to look like, and I ended up using my Artix acrylic pens that I don't care for very much because they're not opaque and kind of watery. Well, it worked out perfect for this water because that's kind of the look I was going for. So it worked out well making water, and it was so repetitive and non-thinking and so soothing to an anxious brain that I just really enjoyed it. So I did the water first, and then I knew how I wanted the for some reason it reminds me of like an armada, like going out, maybe because there's so much war happening in the United States and around the world right now, that I was thinking kind of like it looked like a navy. So I wanted the seahorses to be metallic. And so I used my very small palette of polychromas, which are my favorite pencils, and also my favorite to do metals. And I tried to make them look like they were gold. It's like a combo of 4 pencils. And then I was left with just the paper boats, and I did not know what to do with them. So for the paper boats, I didn't want to, I didn't know how to leave them white. And then I thought, well, what if I just take the lighter colors of what I've already used in the seahorses to make them look metal, and then just do the paper like that. And so I did, so they would match, because really this page is just a repetitive, soothing page, and I don't know that I wanted anything to really stand out except for maybe the seahorses, but I just loved it. This is a very different sort of page for me to pick. I normally pick pages that tell stories or cute. I'm usually annoyed by pages that have repetitive images in it, so that all you're doing is the same thing over and over and over. I get bored, but I tell you, I didn't work on anything else. I spent 3 days doing this, and I usually pick up other pages while I'm working on something, and I usually work on 3 or 4 at once just so I don't get bored. And this I did not. I just stayed with it till it was done, and I loved it. So yeah, so it's pencil, some acrylic paint pen, and a little bit of glitter gel for the flags. All right, let me show you another one I did. All right, so here we have a color by number. This is Looney Tunes Tome 2, and from Hatchet Heroes. I bought this off of Lyrica, Lireka, Lyrica.com. That always confused me when I was a new colorist. It's a French a French website that has free shipping to the United States, and you can get these great Disney and Looney Tunes color by numbers. And what I did out of this book this month is The Martian and Bugs Bunny. Who doesn't love The Martian? Hello. You kind of talk like that. I love The Martian. And he was always trying to blow up Bugs Bunny. He was always trying to blow up something. Of course, Bugs Bunny always outwitted him. Bugs Bunny outwitted everybody and thwarted his plans over and over. This was a lot of fun. And in this one, I used every acrylic medium I owned. There's paint in there, I believe. There's paint, there's pens, I was trying everything I owned to finally decide if any of it worked in these books. As it turned out, what works best, of course, is Tule art, and we all know that. I might as well just gone straight to the Tule arts. But there's a little bit of everything in here, and I can't really offhand tell you what's what, except I do know the shiny that's around here, that's an Arteza. I have a set of Arteza metallic acrylics, and I love that set. It's a lot of fun. And so I used, for the first time in this book, I used a metallic acrylic, and I need to do that more often. I keep forgetting. It looks really good in that, I think. So yeah, there's the Martian. He's trying to blow up Bugs Bunny. I need to find these Looney Tune cartoons on YouTube and watch them. I like this book because I was more of a Looney Tunes fan than Disney. It kind of costs money to watch Disney, and we didn't have a lot of money, but Looney Tunes was on TV. So I watched a lot of Looney Tunes when I was a kid, and I recognize all of these scenes in this book. I've seen the cartoon where the scene came from. So, yeah, isn't it great? I really do love this book. It's a lot of fun, and I got more of these coming up soon. All right, let me show you next. All right, this is another new purchase from this month, or could have been from January, it could have been from December. I'd have to look that up. But you all know I love mythographics and mythogorias. I do like coloring the spooky. It's not that I really am gothic or like horror in particular. I can't stand horror movies or even horror books. I can't read them. I can't watch the movies. It just doesn't do good things to my system. But I find that horror coloring is different from any other thing. It's not, you see, it's like, I don't want to put any genre down, but there are a lot of coloring genres out there where they look a lot the same. In a horror colorist, an illustrator, they can make it into anything that their twisted little minds can come up with. So I find the images just a lot more interesting to color. I don't like to see pain and suffering, but I do love it when the images are unexpected and a little bit unsettling. So the one I did was this one. This is... I call it the babes, the demon babes, and then the murder squirrels around it. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. I did this with alcohol markers completely. There is a little tiny bit of pencil on the squirrels to try to blend those weird colors I made them. And there is pencil on the babes to darken up and shadow and make them look a little shadowy and dingy. But everything else is straight up markers. Everything is is alcohol marker based, and most everything is straight up markers without any pencil on it at all. One of the things I'm most proud of in this is the tree. The tree itself, I used probably 6 different browns to get these colorings, and it took a long time. And I tell you, I started here and I got to here and I was kind of done with the tree. I still had all this to do. It is slow going to get the shading, to get it all, and be careful you're not going over your highlights. And I start with the lightest coloring and I move to the darkest, and then I go backwards and just trying to deepen and darken shadows and make sure I'm not stepping on any of the light areas. So it was really rather hard. The tree was difficult, but it was a lot of fun ultimately. And I do love how it looks. Now, I couldn't tell if this was like umbilical cords, which I think it kind of is. So I don't like to get too gory. So I just kind of made them a brownish red. And then they are like this unnatural red with sort of see-through darkened wings. And then I used a black pencil to make their shadings. It was interesting because before I colored them, their little faces were so cute. But then, of course, once I added my coloring, they're not so cute anymore, which is kind of the point. I love to take these kind of drawings and either make them cute so that they're really unexpected, or on purpose make them just pretty much hideous. So I use like, someone on Instagram called it ochre. It's kind of like baby puke, this color is. I use a lot of that and browns instead of traditional greens and dark browns for the squirrels. I had to think through the squirrels. I left the squirrels till last. I knew I was painting myself into a bit of a corner with this dark brown tree because I didn't want to add a gray. That would, I don't think, would match. And around here, squirrels are either brown or gray. I don't know any other colored squirrels. And brown would fade too much into the tree. So I decided, I keep moving things. I'm at my work desk and I'm knocking things over, my coloring desk. And so I decided that I would make them pretty spooky and unattractive. And I gave them red eyes. And I would just make them sort of the same color as the leaves so that they would stand out in that way. Really, I wanted the focus to be on the demon babies. They are different from everything else. Everything else is pretty monochromatic or dual chromatic. And then, of course, I wanted to add a little bit of bling. So I put some Kiritake Gansai Gold Tambi watercolor for the stamens on the flowers, just so there's a little bit of unexpected shimmer. And that was it. I really liked this a lot. I enjoyed doing it. I can't wait to do another one out of this book. This book isn't for everyone. It really is a love-hate book. There are some images in here that are more disturbing than others because they do show animals that are dead or possibly in pain, and I don't really care for that, so I'm torn about that. But I really, really love this artist. And I think we needed a new artist in this line. This artist is Shelley Carroll. And Shelley is also, if you're interested in her artwork and think it's interesting, but don't want to do this gory stuff, because her artwork is really fun to color. It's not too complicated. It's not too detailed. The lines are a really good thickness, I think, for any medium. And it's just, I have a flip through on my channel if you want to look through it all. But just this, the composition is nice. And they're just easy to color. And you can make them look gorgeous. She has later this year in fall, she's going to be doing a mythographic. And it's on magical apothecaries. So it won't be gory at all. It'll be nice and magical, and you can get a chance to check her out in a way that isn't spooky or gory. So Shelley Carroll, she's British. I think she's in England, and this is Vengeful Forest. All right, I'll show you what I did next. All right, this beautiful, wonderful, very shiny book is the Disney 100 Years of Wonder. And I was able to purchase this at Walmart. This is the Walmart exclusive cover. And there's also a little mini book on the inside. And what I've only done one other out of this, and that was this guy. Oh, I did this like a month or two ago. But yeah, I did this for Christmas. So this was in December. But what I did in January was this double page, and I didn't finish it. So I finished this page. And this was, I started with Baloo, and I used different mediums for every single one of these little vignettes. And on this one, I think it was mostly my Speer Farb. It was some acrylic markers and then my Speer Farben color pencils, which I really like. And I used Gamsol, which is this right here. I used Gamsol and a blending stump, which is this right here. And what I do is I dip the blending stump in the Gamsol, dip it in, and then I let it sit for a minute because you don't want to put too much water on it. I've made the mistake of using a Q-tip, cotton swab, but it holds too much liquid and it just smeared the color everywhere. So if you let it soak in for just like 30 seconds or so, then you have exactly the amount that's perfect. on this, and you can just blend it together. And I love that look. The one thing I don't care about for colored pencils is the white that you can see the paper through. And I feel like the Gamsol, because I can't put much pressure with my colored pencils because of my arthritis, the Gamsol allows me to get at least a better coverage. So I really liked what happened with him. So I moved up here and it was halfway through this picture that I purchased with some Christmas money from Amazon, the Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. So the rest of this page became, except for one, became a trial to try to learn how to use those pencils. So I guess next I actually really did Bug's Life. And he's the Spirifarbens with the Gamsol for the grass and the sky, but everything else is acrylic paint pen, and I thought that turned out really well. But then I bought the Albrecht Dürers and I went to this, and I just struggled with those pencils. I did it I tried lots of different techniques. So I got the tree, too much pigment because I colored on it. And I kept, every time I added water, I felt like I was pushing the pigment around. Like the pigment wasn't staying on the page and coloring the page. It was just pushing around, and I was really having a hard time. So for the tree, I added more pigment on top and then tried it again, and it basically just kind of got muddy looking. I had better luck with the leaves, but it's still very sloppy looking. So down here with these guys, and that is Encanto. These are the characters from Encanto. I never saw that one. This is mostly acrylic pen, but it's got some of the watercolor pencil back here. It's got a little bit on her dresses. Again, I struggled very much. I was much more successful here. And this is where I started using less pigment, going lightly and then just working with the water. I still feel like I'm just pushing pigment around. And then wherever I stop is where the pigment stays. I did better with this lion. It's from The Lion King. Simba, right? And what I did here was I colored him with all the shading, and then I just put water over the top, and I tried not to drag the dark into the light. It was hard. I tell you, I don't have these pencils down. I find them very fussy and very hard at this point, and so I'm still not good with them. I started getting frustrated with them here with Dory, so I just didn't quite finish. And I haven't quite finished the skin on this little guy from Up and Kevin the Bird. A lot of this is acrylic paint pen because I got tired of those Albrecht Dürers. And then I haven't done the Wally at all. Now, the first thing I did on this, though, what drew me to this double page spread was this leaf border. I had so much fun with that. And that was done with... It's got some acrylic, this gold. I think that's some gold acrylic paint. I think there's pencil in here. You know what I think it is? Because it looks like watercolor to me. I think it's Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. I didn't write it down for some reason. I think it might be, though. I had a lot of fun with doing these leaves. Again, I was in the mood to just do something repetitive, weird for me, and monochromatic, and I did the leaves, and then I went back over them and made just every one here and there, put the acrylic gold, the metallic acrylic gold. This was fun. This was a complete experiment page, and it was fun to experiment in this. In fact, this book has become kind of an experimental book. I can't use acrylic alcohol markers, which is my go-to, so I have to try, because it's double-sided, so I have to try things that don't bleed through, and so this is where I'm practicing. So I'm not quite finished with this one yet. I'm determined to find a way to use those expensive Albrecht Dürers in a way that works for me. I have to say I'm not successful yet. And I've put them away for a bit. I've been watching videos, and quite a few of your videos. Shell's Coloring Journey is one that I've looked at, and several people's. I just haven't figured it out yet, but we'll get there. So this was fun, and I'm looking forward to finishing this one in February. Okay, I wanted to show you some progress I've made in the Villains Color by Number book. This is a Disney book, and Disney Color by Number. And I got this at Walmart. I think it's you can get it off of Amazon as well. It's got a nice thick cover. It's got the solutions in the front and the back. The paper is really thick, really nice, and it's single-sided. So it kind of hits all the things I love. It's a delightful book with some funny stuff in the front, but I wanted to show you what I've done to upgrade it a bit. I haven't yet finished painting around all of them, but when I do a page, and this was done much earlier this year, what I'm now doing is I found that I was doing these pages, but I'm not careful. I'm very messy, so I get this side messy. Sometimes it's just alcohol ink coming through, but a lot of times it's me just getting the page messy. And I stopped opening this book because I didn't like looking at that mess. So what I ended up doing was getting into my stash, my huge stash of cardstock, because I am a card maker as well as a colorist, and just finding cardstock that I could cut to size and glue in on the other side of the book. So this one is, and I tried to make them either match in color or in theme, like this is corals. And that made it so it was a lot more fun to open the book. So I went through, and the ones I finished, I did that. I put cardstock on this side and then the finished page on that side. And I really like looking through this book now. Now it's going to make the book thick. It will. And, you know, if it gets to be a problem, we'll deal with it then. But right now it's not. But yeah, see, so this is the cardstock and this is the page I colored, right? And most of these are done in acrylic markers, whatever cheap ones I've got laying around the house. And I really just enjoyed it. This is one I did a while back. Loved it. Just love this one to pieces. And here's the cardstock I put on it. So I now am creating a book that I just really enjoy flipping and looking at. Here is the Queen of Hearts, and then I found some rose cardstock for her. And there's my Queen of Hearts. And now this book is one I'm more proud of. I didn't even like opening it to show you because these pages were always so messy, this backside. This is one that I sneak peek. This will be in February. I finished this one. It was a whip because I also work ahead in this book. I haven't dressed out the sides yet. What I'll do is if I'm working with something with this purple paint, and I have purple paint left over on the palette, and I don't want it to just dry up and go to waste, I'll look through here and find something that requires that shade of purple, and I'll paint that part of it. So this one had some bits and pieces that were done on it. I just finished it up and put some cardstock. So let's get to the one I did. Here's one I finished a while back. This was a buddy color. And here's the cardstock. I found some metallic cardstock to kind of go with the metallic background of that. Isn't that fun? Here's the one that I did in January. Gaston. How can you read this? There's no pictures. I had his pants were done, and because I had some black left over from another project, so I had done his black pants and his black hair. But that's pretty much all that was done. So I just did the rest of it, and then I found this crazy fun, kind of the same colors actually, cardstock for the other side. Yeah. I tell you, this book is really a lot of fun. It does have some cons. You will see spots where they've forgotten to put a number in, and you just sort of have to look at the rest of the picture or look at the solution to find out what color that should be. So, and that might bother some people. Pretty much in every picture, there's a spot or two that don't have a number. But this one didn't, actually. I don't remember this one being messed up like that. But again, it's a lot of fun. I'm going front to back. There's just a little bit of everything in here. And wow, that's going to be fun when we get to that one. They're just great scenes. and they end up looking just so good. So yeah, are there any others I can show you? Here's one I did. I think this was done in December or November, and that's the cardstock. It's this crazy pattern cardstock. I thought it offset this really bright one really well. I'd like to paint this black. I think that'll look good. I don't know why I didn't paint it black when I painted all this black. But yeah, so that one is February's. Oh, here's one I did. Now this one was done in alcohol markers, and then I did regular paint, acrylic paint back here to kind of make it look like a messed up wall. Yeah, that's her. And then here's the cardstock. It's just a bunch of frames, of empty frames of pictures. I thought that was suitable for her. She doesn't have any friends. She's playing cards alone. She's playing solitaire. Yeah, so just really good times. Here's another one I did. This was done earlier last year. And I made it, I found some look like lined paper, and I thought that worked with the pages that he's obviously writing music or something. And here's the cardstock. Yeah. So that has really, really livened up this book for me. I really like this book now that I've put this cardstock in there. It's just fun to flip through the book now. Makes it, kind of brings it up a notch for me, and makes me want to color in it more. All right, so that's another color by number I did. Villains, a Disney coloring book. All right. Okay, so since we're on a color by number kick here, I thought I would show you the other color by number I did, and this is, I have a little tiny buddy coloring group for this book. It's Stephanie Napolitan. Put her info here. And my friend Tammy at Tammy Colors too. And I know that you've seen Stephanie's drawings, her colorings on Instagram, and you've seen and watched Tammy on YouTube. There we go. And we all three have this book, and every now and then we're like, hey, you want to do a page in it? And so we do. So this book has been like kind of a trial and error for me. I really want it to look like the stained glass, but what I've been using in it has been alcohol markers, which don't cover the numbers. I thought the alcohol markers would look like stained glass, but it kind of doesn't. And at the time I wasn't clear on how to get that trick. You know, I've seen people do these and make them really look like stained glass, and I didn't know what they were doing. I started following more people and watching more people doing these, and it really seemed like they were using colored pencils as well, and I was trying really hard to avoid that, honestly. So I wasn't getting any better. I did do this one in acrylic markers. I liked it the best of the ones I'd done so far because it almost colored the numbers. But, you know, typical acrylic, just one coat didn't cut it. So even though I thought this was pretty, it was a lot of work because I had to go over everything twice. I did, however, this time thicken up the black lines, and that helped. So I watched some more videos on people who were working out of books like these and making them stained glass. And I finally, here's another one that I tried, and that was with water-based markers. So far I tried water-based, alcohol, and acrylic. What I finally ended up doing was this. This was the one we did this month, and it's the closest I've come yet to the look I want, and I think I really like it. This was alcohol markers. Now, the one thing that's hard is this paper is super thirsty, so your alcohol markers absorb in, and then they tend to leave, do you see like the spotting? They tend to soak into the paper, and they don't actually completely cover the paper. They soak in, and it leaves white spots. So that's a problem with the paper. So working with this weird paper, the acrylic or the alcohol markers make the most sense for me. I have the most colors, and they're the easiest. So what I ended up, but I didn't want to do pencils, right? Well, what I ended up doing was alcohol marker, just straight alcohol marker. And then I either took an alcohol marker of a slightly darker shade and went around the perimeter, or I used a pencil. I did use a pencil. And that gave it that faux look of like it might be glass, like it's darker along the edge than it is towards the center. And then in a stroke of genius, which I don't know why I didn't figure out before, I went over the black lines with the Sakura Jelly Roll, the glaze, and that raises it up so it's kind of bumpy. Although it's almost a shame to use that much glaze pen on a color by number because those things are not cheap. And I do go through them fast, but it sure made the book into what I wanted it to be. So I was really proud of this when it finally got done. And I'm going to show you Stephanie's page now. And this is Stephanie's. And I believe they finished before me. I think that was the deal. And then I was last. I can't remember. We try not to pressure each other too much. Here is Tammy's. And we give each other the month, but if we don't finish, that's fine. We post or we don't post. This is just for our own fun. And just because we three wanted to do something together, and we all have this book. So, yeah. So I thought that was a lot of fun. And I think I finally found a way to color in this that I'm enjoying. I enjoy the finished product. Because for me, it is about the process. But if I don't end up with something I like, I'm not going to work in that book too much, you know. So I'm ready for the next one we decide to do, which we haven't picked one. And we don't do it every month. We just do it whenever someone feels like it. And then I'm going to try that technique again and see if it works out for me again. All right, let me show you what I did next. So I had a whip in this one. You might have remembered in my Color the Tarot series, which you are all welcome to join in on my channel. I've colored a couple of these, but this is a book that we tend to go through. This is Tarot Coloring by Alexis E. Thompson. It's absolutely gorgeous. And a lot of you have it, and you have colored images and submitted them, and I've added them to the ongoing reel. But I have this one as a whip. I totally somehow forgot about it. And I found it again. So it didn't take much to finish it, so I finished it. So this, the lovely thing about this book is that even though the write-up on the card is here, it is virtually one-sided, right? I mean, I can still read that if I need to read it. So I did this in alcohol markers. There is some Kuretake Gonzai Tombi gold watercolor paint in this gold stuff. Some of this is a gold paint pen. Some of this is gold felt pens, metallic felt pens, metallic acrylic, maybe. The really shiny stuff is watercolor. The rest is alcohol markers. That's pretty much all that's in this. Yeah. The black is really shiny because, again, it's that Sakura gel glaze, the Sakura glaze pen. But he was a lot of bling. And maybe he was meant to be finished, to wait to be finished until February, because it is the January, February, because it is the Chinese New Year, Year of the Dragon this year. And the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year, is in February. So maybe he was just waiting to be done when it was time for the dragon. The earth he's holding was a metallic pen and an acrylic pen. So he's super shiny. And I like him. I like the dragon. My dragons tend to be red or pink. He is the Emperor card. Now, if you would like to come along on this journey, just look on my playlist for the Color the Tarot playlist on my YouTube channel. And start with the Fool, the 0 card, the Fool. I think the video is called Intro and the Fool, and that'll introduce you to the series and what we're doing, and then just go at your own pace. And every time you color a picture that is of a tarot card, of any tarot card, just post it to Instagram and hashtag it color the tarot, and then tag me in it at Happy Catastrophe, and I'll make sure to add you to the ongoing reel and welcome you to the series. It's very, very low pressure. It's just fun. We're just learning what we're learning about each card as we color, and just enjoying each other's colorings. It's a good time. But I really like this one. It turned out it's kind of all over the place because it started so long ago. I find when I start something and then finish it much later, it's not as cohesive as it could be. But I don't know. I figure if there's enough bling, it makes everything all right. Right? Right. And there's my emperor. All right, let me show you what I did next. Ooh. And then came along Hannah Karlon. I was of the idea that I didn't really care for Hannah Karlon's illustrations. I thought her people looked strange, and I wouldn't really know what to do with her. But when Doodle Robot suggested that our group coloring, our group that we had that was coloring, we changed the book on both of the groups. It might have been the Amazing's Dreamland one. Anyway, Doodle Robot has a very large coloring book, and we all decided that we were kind of tired of the book we were coloring and wanted to change it to a new one. And so they suggested some authors. Well, I had just decided that I was going to try me a Hannah Karlon, and I suggested this book. And we had several books to vote on, and they chose this one. And all of them are very experienced at coloring in her books. I think I'm the one person who's never colored in a Hannah Karlon book. It just seemed like her drawings were just so odd. But then I'd see what you guys did with them, and I was blown away. So I decided I needed to get one, and I got the one that was the cheapest at the time. And it was this one. It was on sale. And so I just happened to have it. And now that I've colored a page, I look at these and I want to color them all. But the page we chose, and we all voted on it, was further back than this. Not marked by Candice. You've got to be kidding me. I spent a month on it. Ah, right there, right there. You've probably seen this posted all over the place because it is a very large group of colorists who are worked on this. And so we wait till the end of the month, and then we all post them in our Instagram group. We have a private Instagram group, and we ooh and ah over each other's colorings. And then we go on to the social medias and we put them up. So we wait so you'll see them all at once at the beginning of every month. You'll see all this same page. So if you want to join us, just hit up at Doodle Robot. They're on Instagram and YouTube, and she'll add you to the group. And we're working out of this book right now for a while. So here, I thought I'd get brave with the Albrecht Dürers. Like, yeah, I was a total failure in that Disney book, so why don't I try it in my brand new Hannah Karlon book? Because that's how I roll. And so I did. So all this is Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencil. Now, I again had a hard time with them, and in some places went over it with other pencils because I just wasn't getting the deep saturated color I wanted. So once again, I'm still not sure how to use them, but I tried, and I used them all over. I used them in the mushrooms. I used them for the kitty cat. I really did wherever it looks like it might be pencil. I based them here. And then I think I went over with them dry. I know I went over with some pencil, but I used them a lot in here. Again, they're not my favorite yet. I still feel like I'm fighting with the pigment, just pushing it around on the paper. But I'm finding for lighter, more pastel-y treatments, it's working well. I haven't yet broke the code on the deep saturated colors. I went back and watched some of Shell's Coloring Journeys videos because she gets really deep, vivid colors. I just don't know how she's doing that yet. I'm about ready to direct message her and say, what's the magic to this? And then I decided I wasn't going to use them for the entire page, so I went to some acrylic paint and acrylic paint pens. This black down here, this foliage that's in the shade is the Sakura glaze pen again. This is acrylic pens. This is some of the Albrecht Dürer. And then I went around things with various acrylic pens. I really wanted to make this page look like it was glowing. And then as a final decision, I made this snail gold. I immediately regretted it because it doesn't go with the rest of the page. But I made the cat's eyes glow too, gold, hoping that it was looking like the cat either had gold eyes, the same color as the snail, or the snail's, sparkly goldness was reflecting in the kitty's eyes. And I did want the snail to stand out, so it definitely does, because it's a completely different feel. It's a warm feel where everything else is cool. But it's growing on me. And I really like the overall feel of the page. It's very mystical and magical, which is what I wanted. And I do like how the pencils looked. I do like how they look. I think it looks better further away. Up close, you can still really see the pencil strokes and stuff, even though I added water. So I still need some work with the Albrecht Dürers, but this was better. I do really, really love the color choices because they're the same as the Polychromos, and that's my favorite pencil. So the color choices are really nice. So I had a lovely time with this, and it was so much fun seeing what everybody else did with the page. Some people had ginger orange tabby kitties, and some had like this tabby. I think some of them made them look like their own cats at home. It was really great. So I know you're seeing this picture floating around on Instagram and YouTube. So that's what that's all about. And if you want to join our group, just hit up Doodle Robot. All right. Yay, kitty, kitty. So that was my first page out of Hannah Karlson's Daydreams, and I cannot wait to do another one. All right. You all know that I am doing a front to back, not looking ahead project with Alien Worlds, where I am the explorer that's going to the different worlds. And so I'm starting at the beginning where I'm in my spaceship and I'm traveling through space. So I colored this. And this is all done except for little bitty parts like this. That's usually done with some kind of a pen. It's all done in with Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. So here I am in the cockpit. And these were all ones I've done in previous months, but just catching you up in case you haven't followed along. I'm in my cockpit. All this is Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. So we're still in the credit page. And then more credit pages, and these are all the different planets we're going to. And right now we're going to the Paradise Lost planet, which I put down here. And that's the green planet. Now, I didn't look ahead. I stopped looking at flip-throughs, and I didn't look ahead. So these are all just random picked colors. I don't know if the other planets will be those colors. I did not color this one because I got tired of coloring credits. I wanted to get to the meat. So you've seen this one. This was where I'm jetting off and I'm heading towards the Paradise Lost, the Lost Paradise planet. This was most, although the rocks and the ship and that little moon up there are Tim Holtz watercolor pencils, the rest is acrylic paint and acrylic paint pens, because that was a big, big area. And then you saw this one in last month. Double page spread again, Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. This is where we've actually landed on the Lost Paradise planet. It's green, it's lush. There's a lot of different animals. There's all sorts of different things to see. The giant mushrooms. There's a spaceship. There's my ship. There I am there. And like I said in a previous video, probably pooping my spacesuit because look at what I'm looking at. Holy cow, that's a big animal back there. But that is the solar giant. And the solar giant is who I colored next. And when I flipped the page, I didn't know what would be next. And I found that it was the solar giant. So this is what I finished in January. Now the solar giant collects, is energized by the power of solar waves, like from a sun. And so it made sense that, and he collects those waves from these long antenna things. And I had to look back to see what I colored him because, you know, this is a cohesive book and I wanted to make him similar to this. So I think that worked out. I got his stripes in there. I got his coloring in. I even got the shading in. And all of this is done with Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. Now what I have done like on this page and why it's a little bit more vivid and detailed than this is that on this page I went back in with colored pencils, mostly polychromos, and added shadings. That was a lot of work and I decided I wasn't up for that on this page. So this page is more watercolory looking and less detailed because it does not have that pencil that just went in and darkened some shades here and there. Sometimes I do that. Here I did it with, here I did that with more watercolor pencils, but putting wet medium on top of watercolor will reactivate. So when I add more layers to this, it kind of activates a layer underneath it, and so it gets slightly darker. It's a very soft look. Great for shading things like muscles and the body of a beast, but not so great for little tiny shadings to go back in because it will reactivate what's underneath it unless I use some sort of workable fixative. So there are multiple layers on here, but they all kind of, and they are distinct, but they also sort of blend and they add a nice soft shading. If you want crisp shading, you really do need to just go in with some hard pencil on top of this and not use another wet medium. But I was fine with the soft shading. Look at that little creature. I love that little creature. Those little deery things. And I thought he was great. I decided I didn't want to make him look too much like an elephant, and I did keep looking back to see what I did here, and I noticed I added more red into his skin. So I put the red on this one's face. I figure maybe it's a different sex. Maybe one's a female, one's a male, and they're slightly different. But really enjoyed this. I made the sky yellow just like it is here. Made it yellow. So I'm trying to, and I used the same colors of pencils in the foliage here that I did back here. Same colors, so making it really cohesive that we're on the same planet. Now, I couldn't help but look ahead because the next page is right here, and this is the apex predator, and this is on the same planet as well. So the foliage will be the same colors as this, and will go real well with it. But and he has been basted with his first layer now. This was also watercolor pencils, Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. I'll go in with more. So he'll look very different than he looks now, but he's got the first layering in. I just love working in Kirby Rosanis books with the Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. It makes these pages go much faster than if I was using regular pencils. It goes as fast as a page does with paint, and it was the only way I could get through a page like this. This is so detailed, but it went fairly fast once I got the palette figured out and had my 6 or 7 pencils, and I just went to work with it as a wet medium and a paintbrush. So there we are with this, and then we are with the apex predator, and then I don't know what's next. I haven't flipped forward, but from the write-up, I look at the little blurbs in the back of the book. It looks like we go on to another planet, so I'm excited about that. I'm ready to use some different colors. Yeah. My friend Tammy at Tammy Colors 2 has decided to do this as well. Again, I don't work on this every month. I don't have a page every month. I do this just whenever sometimes I do 2 pages in a month, and sometimes I go months without doing anything. But it's all just a fun journey. And I chose to do this because I felt like this was really Kirby's swan song of a book. It's so detailed and the storyline is so there, you know, this, I love it. I think this is his first book where he has a storyline that goes through the whole book, that this is a space explorer who's exploring all these planets and how the book comes together. And I just decided I wanted to treat it like that just in case we never got another Kirby. I could savor this one for quite a while. But as it turns out, in 2025, Kirby's got a new one he's coming out with. Yes. He didn't take too long of a break. We have to wait over a year, but it is going to be dark fairy tales. I cannot wait. In Kirby style, oh, that'll be fantastic. So anyway, that is my solar powered giant in Alien Worlds by Kirby Rosanes. And I have a couple more left. All right, so I thought I would show you the page that I did in Procreate. So this is from George Tufex's Charming Winter Scenes, and what I did was I uploaded it. I had it in a PDF form, and I can't remember whether I scanned that or, copied it in there, or if I had bought the PDF, but I had it as a PDF form. I opened it in Procreate, which is an app you can get on your iPad, and then I colored it that way with my iPad pencil. So the nice thing about George Tufex's is he is very detailed. So I can get way up in there like that, and I can color. Now, I only know the basics of Procreate, and I kind of thought that, this is got to be easier than using regular mediums, but it's not. It took the same amount of time as if it was on paper and I was using pens or markers. In fact, it might have taken longer. It took me several days. And it was a lot of fun. So here is the way that looks. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, you get all the shadings and everything. It's a color by number. So it just all blends in really, really well. The boots, I love the boots. I'm trying to keep my light out of it. I turned off one of the lights so it'd be easier to see. But see, you can turn it all kinds of ways. You can turn the iPad and it doesn't change. So often what I did was I put it at the size I needed it, and then I just turned it like I normally do with my paper. When I'm coloring on a paper, I'll color and then I'll turn and color, and I'll turn it like this and I'll color the bricks and that kind of stuff. So I did the same thing, and I found that it felt just like I was actually coloring, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I consider this a finished page, and I would do more of his like this. In fact, I would do more of anybody's like this once in a while. I wouldn't want it to be my everyday, like my go-to way of coloring. But the reason I actually had to do this was because I had to leave my home because of an ice storm. I had no power, water, electricity, nothing. And so I actually went to my parents' house, and they had a generator. So my dog's trying to get up on the couch behind me. And so all they had was power, but no Wi-Fi. I couldn't take all my coloring supplies to my parents' house while I was displaced. So I just had my iPad. So I just looked in my iPad, found this PDF, and I just colored. And this kind of kept me sane during a week and a half of not being able to be home. So I did a couple like this. The other one isn't finished, and I'll show you probably for the February finished pages. But this was a lot of fun, and I really recommend people trying it out if they have an iPad and they have Procreate. It works really well. All right, let me show you my last page of the month. All right, the last page I did in January 2024 is out of Mythogoria Night Terrors. And this is Every time I work in a different Mythogoria, I say that's my favorite one, but this is the one I've worked the most out of, and it has the most pictures that I want to finish. So I guess I'd have to say this one is probably my favorite, but they're all fantastic. And this one's by Fabiana Attanasio. And of course, we all know and love her, and she's amazing. So this one came out a year ago. October 2022 is when I bought it. I don't know. So I have several done in here, but the one I did in January 2024 is this one. So this is the Spider Lady. I've colored her before. Kirby Rosales has one of her. She's mythological and she's a lot of fun. So I just felt like coloring her again for some reason. I started with her this time. I usually do start with the background, but I started with her because I knew I wanted these incredibly vivid red legs. So I chose to do them in pencil. I know it's crazy, but I did. The legs are done in pencil, but they are using that blending stump again with the gamsol, this gamsol. And that is what, it makes it so smooth and buffed and like there's no paper shining through it, right? Now this is done with Color pencils and they worked really, really well. And they blended really, really well. I worked with them just because I needed lots of reds for those legs and I just thought they did fantastic. I mean, that's the vivid red I was looking for. Now, this is black pencil. Her hair was done in alcohol markers because I just wasn't going to do that much pencil. I was kind of done once I did her body. And then this part of her body is washi tape. Can you see that? So I had a rather large piece of washi tape. It was about this wide. And I found the part of it that I wanted to show, and I just taped the washi tape over it. Now, it's semi-transparent, so I kind of sort of could see the lines. And then I take a craft knife, which I never have handy because I'd like to show you, but let's pretend this is a craft knife. And I just cut. But because I can't quite see the lines that well, I often have to lift up the tape and look and then put the tape back down and cut and lift up the tape and put the tape back down and cut. So it's very, very sketchy. It's very tricky. I can't say I did it right the first time, but I did it right the second time. And it's you have to be really careful. And then looks like I cut right there too. Oh, I bet I cut on accident and then yeah. And then this is a different washi tape back here, although it's the same colors. It's from the same set, but I wanted them to look slightly different. And this one had big images spaced apart, and this is such a small area, so I picked one that had flowers that were really close together, so you could actually see something. That took a bit of time. It always does with washi tape. I did cut through to the back. I usually do, so I put washi tape to cut it. But this time I put a piece of plastic here because I often cut through to the next page too. So I put a piece of plastic here so I wouldn't cut through that. And much smarter this time. I learned from my mistakes. And then I made her face very pale and did the makeup. But then I was left with, what was I going to do with the rest of it? And I really wanted the cobwebs to just sort of not become a thing, to really not get involved that much, but still be there. So I thought I didn't want to make them shiny. So I did, I'm pretty sure this is a watercolor medium, a watercolor pencil or something. But I can't tell you for sure. But I use very, very contrasting and kind of non-complementary colors. Like there's like a yellow-green and then that weird taupe. And then I made ones look farther away. And it was hard. I had to look and say, okay, so this is behind that. So this will be dark, but that's behind that. So I tried to give it depth by making the ones that looked like they were furthest away, the small ones that went underneath everything, black. And then the ones that look like they were in the middle, I made them just this kind of moss, dark moss green. And then I made the ones up close the lightest, hoping to give it like a sense of depth, like the webs go back and back and back. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think that worked? And then the little blobs that Fabiana's so tickled with, I did a metallic teal green. They kind of show up blue sometimes in film, but they're a green. Kind of made everything around here like greens and greenish yellows. Green on here. I mean, just tried, again, I was not going for pretty. I wanted to make her striking, but everything else I kind of wanted to make it kind of ugly and forgettable. I had a really hard time deciding the background color, the very, very background color. And I finally went with this yellow, which in the end made her pop off way and really visible, and I liked it. That's not why I chose it. I just kind of didn't know what to do, but I'm really glad I chose the yellow. And then I did her skulls like I do all skulls with, I have these three or four warm grays in the Copic line that I use to do skulls. And that's her. What do you think? I really liked her. I thought she turned out pretty good. I was most happy with the washi tape application. This is probably the best I've ever done washi tape. And then the pencil work. I wanted her legs bright and vivid, but I wanted a lot of control with the shading and where the light was striking it, but yet I didn't want it to look like pencil. I just don't like that look. I like the paper to be covered. And I think it really worked. I'm going to have to remember the Color markers, Color pencils. Because if I was looking at this right now, I wouldn't have said that was Color. But I wrote down Color, so I know that's what I meant. And that's pretty awesome for those pencils. So that was my last picture for January 2024. Did I say January 2023 earlier? I'm a little tired. These were the pictures I did in January 2024. Calendars are hard. I hope you have had a lovely day. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. I have a backlog of these coming out because I was without power for so long, and then we were without internet for longer. So now that I have access to internet again, I'm getting them out. So you'll see quite a few, one after the other, and then we'll be back to kind of a more normal-ish schedule. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. I love you all. Bye.